Hey there, Father Michael here. When I was 40 years old, I just turned 40, my firstborn son was killed in a car crash. And it just so happened that the accident occurred at an intersection that I had to go through every day on my way to and from work. Since I worked at St. Mary's, Notre Dame. And there were days, to be honest, when, I would be on my way to work trying to just carry on. And I would come up to that corner, that intersection, and I would literally have to pull off the road. And I would just stare at that accident site. And I would feel such a depth of loss. Some days I was able to, continue on to work. Other days I sat there for a while and then just went back home. To that point in my life, I had already had a couple successful careers. Two that were legal and one that was not. So we'll talk about the legal ones. I'd been trained to cook as a sous chef starting at age 17, same time I started tending bar. And so I worked successfully in restaurants and clubs and all of that. But I also had made a career in facilities management. And I had thought at the time, that I was going to just try to carry on after Chris died. But the more I just tried to do that, the more unhappy I became, the more profoundly dissatisfied I became, because my whole world had been shaken, if not destroyed. So there was that deep discontent. But on the other hand, the thought of reinventing myself at age 40 was exhausting and demoralizing. I had been so happy to get that job at Notre Dame, and I loved working with the sisters. It was great in so many ways. They were so kind to me when Christopher died. And so I thought previous to that, I thought I would probably retire from there someday. So if I'm not going to do that, oh my God, what am I going to do? How is this going to work? I'm too old to start over. So I just sat for many months in my hopelessness and my limitations, mixing Xanax with wine at bedtime just to get a couple hours of sleep. Well, then I met someone who online who lived in Fort Wayne, and we became friends, and then we became more than friends. And despite warnings from a spiritual friend, as well as a warning in my gut telling me that this was not the right person for me, nonetheless I pushed through and took a leap of faith and ended up relocating here. And after a year of healing and working in a large urban parish, getting my head on right, I decided to reinvent myself after all, and I was going to become a high school teacher. Something that I had considered before when I was younger, but now I had children to raise, and teachers don't make enough money to support a family, so that's what had kept me back. But now I didn't have that issue anymore. I just had the one son to raise. At that point, like I said, money was not the issue. Christopher's death gave me a sense of urgency, really, in regard to doing something that mattered with my life. I wasn't yet ordained. I hadn't really, gotten too deep into my addiction yet. So I had this sense of purpose that life is short, and that even though we can do all the right things and take our vitamins and go to the gym, and keep our cholesterol under control and do all the right things, the reality is some other pendejo can come along, run a red light, and end our story. Not our fault at all. So that's kind of the page I was on. So I was kind of feeling an urgency to do something that mattered. And so teaching became my third legitimate career. One that would bring me so many blessings, would bring so many young people into my life who really mattered to me. I think many of them would be surprised to even know how much they mattered to me. And I'm doubly blessed because some of them continue to be part of my life. I still have coffee with former students fairly regularly. It's a great blessing. Fast forward a few more years, and now I am lost in my addictive behaviors. And I've got some physical health issues that are terrifying me, relating to my prostate. My grandfather had died of prostate cancer, so right away, you tell me there's a prostate issue, I'm like ready to make sign my DNR and start giving away all my property. So I'm getting deeper and deeper into my addictive behaviors. And so after a long 19-year period of tomfoolery, I shuffle off to rehab that last time. And I come back, sure enough, the person that I had been warned about, the person that I knew in my heart of hearts was not the right one, had in fact betrayed me and stolen my stuff and spread disinformation everywhere, and after years and years of cheating on me, decided that he just wasn't interested in living with a recovering addict. And he'd even managed to get the police involved and go to my employer. And so now my teaching job is precarious. They want me out of there. And worse, probably the worst part of it was now I'm almost 60 years old. And I'm back in that place. I'm feeling trapped and hopeless and overwhelmed. So I do, at that point, what I usually do when I feel those kinds of things emotionally and spiritually. I go on a retreat of some kind, a spiritual retreat in the silence. That really is a powerful thing. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend it. So I went on a private retreat at a convent not far from here, run by the Poor Handmaids of Jesus Christ. They've got a great retreat center on a private lake, wooded area. They've got a labyrinth to walk. And you just tell them, I'm here for a silent private retreat, and you pay the little minimal fee, and they leave you alone. And if you want to eat with the sisters, you can. And if you want to bring your food, you can. I highly recommend it. Check it out. So anyway, there I am. I decide to go and do this thing because my life is unraveling faster than a Walmart sweater, and I am just lost and kerfuzzled. The problem was, just a couple weeks before, I had been roofied by a couple of guys I thought I knew, and now I'm being followed. So even as I'm sitting in the midst of the labyrinth, soaking up the sunshine on the lake shore, on the other side of the lake, directly in front of me, is that same black SUV with Virginia plates, the one that had followed me all the way from Indianapolis to the retreat center and is now parked directly across observing, watching, right? Not even being like discreet about it. So what do I do? Now what? I'm being watched after a failed setup. My teaching career is about to be over. My family is angry and disappointed in me. I'm almost 60. I'm too old to start over and to reinvent myself. Coming away from that week's retreat, I came away with a more gentle perspective on myself and on my life. And within a year, just a few months, I was back in school, getting certified to work as a recovery specialist, maybe trying to help other people struggling with their drug and alcohol issues or other addictive behaviors. And to be honest, this has probably been the most rewarding work that I've done outside of priesthood itself. Something I never anticipated or expected. In the Acts of the Apostles, there's a little story that relates to this. There's a story of the Apostle Peter, and he is unwilling to take the message of Jesus to the Gentiles because he believes that, it's restricted to Jewish people only, and he's going to only minister to Jewish people. He had been taught since he was a child to believe that the Gentiles were unclean and unworthy. But something happens, and he has a vision from God, and he completely changes his mind. He does an about-face. He opens himself to another way of thinking and seeing. Acts chapter 10, verse 28, Peter says, God has shown me that I should not call anyone profane or unclean. Looking back, I can see clearly that I was always focusing on limitations and my own sense of unworthiness and uncleanness, if you will, despite the fact that God was trying to bless me every single step of the way. I can see that clearly now in the reinventing of myself as a teacher and then as a recovery specialist. So I gotta wonder, what else have I missed along the way? What do I consider not good enough, less than, that maybe God is already blessing? What else is holding me back? What is God blessing for me right in this moment that I simply refuse to bless and accept myself? I'm sitting with these questions still. This is still part of my spirituality and my prayer life. But one thing I've let go of is that I'm too old for anything. I'm not too old for anything. There are always new ways and new places and new ideas for me to move past my biases and my preferences and open my damn head and heart to new possibilities. For whatever reason, I have a tendency to see problems where God certainly does not. And I don't think I'm alone in doing that. So for today, I'm going to leave you with a little question, because it's one that I'm going to consider and let bounce around in my head as well. And the question is this: what biases and limitations and expectations do I need to look past today as God tries to bless me? Little Friday homework. Pray with me. Loving God of blessing and peace, we come into your presence on this morning, grateful for all the times you were able to break through our prejudices and biases and show us a new way, reveal to us a path forward even though we thought there was no way. Be with all of those who are on that page today, those who feel lost and unworthy, and like there is nothing left in life that is good, that the blessings are all used up, that the light is gone. And help us, those of us who trust in your inner speaking voice, to be available to them, to witness to the simple truth that you are God, that you will always make a way when there is no way, that you will bring us again to those tranquil pastures as our shepherd and God. Amen. God bless you.